Okay, so today we're going to talk about special right triangles and what makes them special. So, how do the side lengths relate to each other when it comes to special right triangles? Let me turn on a light here and see if that helps. Oh, yeah, a little bit. Okay, so special right triangles have to do with triangles that are 45, 45, 90. Remember, these add up to 180 degrees, and 30, 60, 90, again, adding up to 180 degrees. So we're going to work on how to find the side lengths of special right triangles. You don't even have to do the Pythagorean theorem. It's got basically its own little pattern here. So in a square, you know that all sides are congruent, right? So all sides congruent, which is awesome because in a square, it means these two sides right here are equal to each other, and you only have to do something once. Plus this is 45 degrees and this is 45 degrees. So this is the 45, 45, 90 triangle. Okay, so the only thing you really need to know about 45, 45, 90, whatever sides you have here, the hypotenuse will be the square root of 2 times that. So the hypotenuse is the leg. Remember, these are your legs. The legs make up the right triangle of the right angle of the right triangle. So these are your legs. Multiply that by the square root of 2, and you're good to go. Okay? So let's do an example of that real quick before we move on to the next one, which means I have to move the paper very carefully so I don't cut the recording off because that's happened. Okay, so find the vertex. So you can see this is 45. If this is 45, you know this is 45 too. Okay? Because you have a 45, 45, that's 90, plus 90 is a 180. This right here is 8. This is one of my legs right here. My other leg is right here. And I told you that the legs would be exactly the same in a 45, 45 because of the fact that it comes from a square. All you need to do to find x is take that 8 and multiply it by the square root of 2. And you're done. That's what makes these kind of fun and kind of simple. Now in this one, if you notice here, you have 5 root 2. And they want you to solve for the legs because your legs are here making up that right angle. So if you're solving for that, well, it's already got a square root of 2 attached to it. So in this case, x just equals 5. So that's 5, 5, 5 square root 2. Okay, looking at 30, 60, 90. If you take a look at the shorter leg here, it always has to do with just what your number is here. Okay, so it could be a 1, for example. This is going to be then 2 times 1 for the hypotenuse and 1 times the square root of 3 for the leg. So this is going to be your shorter leg, this times 2 for your hypotenuse, okay? And then, so it's just this 2x right here. And then for your longer leg, this leg right here, you're just going to take the shorter leg, whatever that is, times the square root of 3. Now, one way that you can remember where the square root of 3 one goes, if you can't visually see it very easily, is 30 degrees. I'm putting like little arrows here, like a funky little arrow. Has to do with the one that goes with the 3. So you got the 3's matching here. It's one way that you can remember it. Okay, let's try one. So the values of x and y, by the way, this is a short lesson. You're probably like, yay, thank goodness, because there isn't really too much to discuss with these types of triangles, first of all, but secondly, it's a shorter lesson. It's only the front page. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more examples and we're done. Okay, so this one's a little different because I've got a 9 right here. And I told you this is the one that has 9 root 3, right? We just discussed that right up here. It has the root 3 with it because it's got the 30 degrees. So if that's the case, Well, that kind of messes me up a little bit. So I need to take this number here and I need to factor it out until I get a root 3 in there. So what do I mean by factor? I mean that this is 3 times 3. And you're thinking, well, you can't factor it further than that. Oh, yes, I can. This is the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 times that 3. Okay? The square root times the square root is the number inside. So I can factor that further. So what part of this is got the square root of 3 attached to it? Right here. So what is that? That is x. Okay? So x is equal to 3 square root 3. Now for y, you are going to take that number here and you're going to multiply it by 2. So 3 square root 3 times 2 is 6 root 3. And that is your y. Now this might be confusing, okay? But just remember that a square and a square, so the square root of 3 squared is just 3. So I'm just breaking it down until I had a root here. We have a couple more like that, so no worries, you'll have more experience. Okay, so this one, x and x here. Oops, got my pen. So zoom in a little so you can hopefully see this better. The light in here today is just not good. All right, so this right here, x and x means I have a square, which makes these 45 and 45. So this 2 right here, the square root 2, goes away, and these are just 2. So in this case, x equals 2. Okay. Oops, I feel like I might be off camera. There we go. All right, this one. This is also a 45, 45. Sorry, sitting here talking to myself makes me out of breath sometimes because I know I'm talking fast, but at the same time, you never know. So this time it's the square root of 2. So remember that this is this times 2, right? So whatever this is times the square root of 2. Well, if you have this as the square root of 2 times, you're going to multiply it by another square root of 2, completely off camera, then you're going to have 2. So y is equal to 2. Okay, again, this is the square root of 2, and this is a 45, so all I have to do is take the leg and multiply it by the square root of 2. Well, the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, that's the one where I was telling you it's squared. Well, a square undoes a square root, so it's just 2. Okay, 2 more. Moving the camera. Okay, hopefully you guys can see this okay. Anyway, if you have a 30 and a 60, and this is the square root of 3, well then x is going to equal the square root of 3 times the square root of 3. Remember, it's whatever this number is here, whatever that number is here. That's a little blurry. That's a little better. Okay, so whatever that number is here times the square root of 3. So again, that's just 3. Okay, so x is just 3. It didn't ask me to find the other one, but it would be 2 root 3. Because you're going to multiply it by 2. Excuse me. Okay, so this last one, I know, short lesson, right? You're probably like, what up, lady? I'm used to you talking more. And I'm like, I know. So what kind of triangle do we have here? Well, we have a 30, 60, 90, okay? Because this is your 60, and this is your 30, and this is your 30, and this is your 60. How do I know that? How do I know what kind of triangle I had? Well, these add up to 4. And this is equilateral and equiangular. So this has got to be 60, 60. You can barely see that. 60, 60, 30, and 30 are your angle measurements. Okay, so if I just pull one of these out, first of all, because it's really tiny, but this is your 30, this is your 60, this is your 4, and this is your 2. And by the way, you can always use Pythagorean theorem if you really want to. You don't have to use these things, but the thing is when you do it this way, it actually gives you in radicalized form. It's not like which is considered the form you should keep. So this is the one that goes with the 60. So the one that goes with the 30, that's the one that has that addition to it. Okay, so that's all there is on that. That's a special triangle, special right triangles. And I think I assigned IXL, I want to say DD3 or DD4 is one of the special ones. So go ahead and get that done. And if you have any questions, as always, please, please, please let me know.